Sanghanath. So Abhayamati is a native of Suffolk, and he first made his contact with Sri Ratna at the Ipswich Buddhist Centre. And he was ordained at Gukaloka in Spain in 2005, and given the name Abhayamati, which means fearless mind. Since that time, he's worked tirelessly at the Cambridge Buddhist Centre in many creative roles, and he's a class leader, he teaches Tai Chi, and he's also a private preceptor, and he lives in Cambridge. And he's kindly agreed to be our interviewer this evening. So that's Abhayamati. Sanghanath first made contact with Buddhism when he was 6 or 7. He's a native of Kolhapur in Maharashtra state in central India. And he grew up in a village in the countryside. And in 2005, he came over to Cambridge to work at Windows Trading, which he did for many years. He was ordained also at Gukaloka, Spain in 2008 and given the name Sanghanath, which means protector of the Sangha. These days, he's an appeal director at Karuna Trust, the Buddhist-based social work charity that focuses on uplift amongst India's disadvantaged communities. And he also lives in Cambridge. And he is our interviewee. So now I'd like to hand over to Abhayamati and Sanghanath. Thank you. Oh, I just want to mention that just towards the end of the interview, there'll be an opportunity for questions and answers. So get your questions ready right at the end, and you can put them in onto chat, and then I'll moderate that and present them to Sanghanath. Okay, off we go.
Okay, thanks very much, Sadaraja. So Sadaraja has just introduced me, Abhayamati, doing the interview this evening. So as he says, I'm from Suffolk, so I hope you can understand my accent, okay? So this evening, it's my great pleasure to be introducing you to Sanghanath. I was thinking during the break that one of the blessings of Sangha is that we get to meet people from all different backgrounds. And as you just heard, Sanghanath is from India. So that's obviously a large part of his story. So first of all, I'd just like to invite Sanghanath to tell us a little bit about his early life in India and how he came across the Dharma there.
Thank you, Abhayamati. And thanks everyone really for coming tonight for Sangha night. I start saying Jai Bhim to everyone.
Jai Bhim.
This is how we start everything in India because Dr. Ambedkar is very close to my heart and many millions of people in India as well. And also I want to just add really, this is my first Sangha night on Zoom since lockdown. So I've not been in touch with Sangha night very much. I just want to really thank for Buddhist Center and Abhayamati and everyone inviting me to talk about my life as well. Just want to say really, my life has been full on last few months. So I really didn't have much time to reflect on my life as well. But anyway, this is a good opportunity for me to just reflect on my life and share my life as well. So life in India, or early life, where to start really? As Sadaraja mentioned, I grew up in a very small village. It's southwest of India. It's between Goa, if you know Goa or Pune, in the state of Maharashtra. And I grew up in a very small village called Minche. It was very small, few thousand people used to live there. Now it's a little bigger anyway. So I grew up in a small village. My early life was very difficult, to be honest, because my father died when I was very young. I was 6 months old. And I had a elder brother. He's just a couple of years older than me. And obviously it was very difficult life for my mother because she's uneducated woman. She's now widow, in India. That time it's very difficult for widow women. And everything falls on her, looking after these 2 children, having nothing around her. So obviously that has a strong impact on her, myself, and my brother. So really, I mean, I could say a lot about my mother, how she actually dedicated her life to just looking up to myself and my brother, working really hard in field as a labor, and just educating me and my brother. So I have so much gratitude towards my mother. Obviously, I was born in Dr. Ambedkar's community, which called Mahar community, which one of the lowest caste community in India. If you're familiar with caste system, there are 4 castes in India, and I was born in one of the lowest of lowest caste. I could say a lot more about caste discrimination. How did I actually face when I was a child? Grew up in village. Yeah, what else I can add really? Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Dr. Ambedkar. You say Dr. Ambedkar community. I suppose some people may not know who Dr. Ambedkar is.
Yeah.
He's obviously a very important figure.
Definitely, yes.
In your Dharma life.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So Dr. Ambedkar was born in 18th century, 1891. And what can I say about Dr. Ambedkar really? I mean, in a sense, I am actually talking in front of you now, in England, in the house, sitting at the house. Because of him, if he wouldn't exist, this interview wouldn't exist. So obviously, he was the first person from bottom of the caste, educated himself, challenged the caste system. He actually changed the history of India by social change, by activism, and towards the end, he converted into Buddhism in 1956. We could come back to that later on anyway. It's a shame really, not many people know about Dr. Ambedkar in the West. A lot of people know about Mahatma Gandhi. But I would say Dr. Ambedkar is the most significant, important figure in India. He has changed the history of India. And there are many, many millions of people. Well, what we can say, they're really grateful because of Dr. Ambedkar. Their life changed. If Dr. Ambedkar would exist, the caste system probably still exist in a very unhuman form.
Absolutely. Yeah. So he in a way saw a way out of caste by converting to Buddhism.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, before he converted into Buddhism in 1956, obviously he was trying to change caste and challenge the caste by becoming a politician, activism, through writing so many books, giving talks, and just raising this awareness about caste. And actually he did definitely change a lot through activism, and he continued to do actually even after Buddhism as well. But one of his reflection was for India. India is you can't separate India from religion. Religion is very big part of our society. And the caste system is integrated or deeply rooted in Hinduism. Hinduism believes in caste system. And Dr. Ambedkar deep down knew that, unless you have some kind of religion, spiritual path, people are not going to change their attitude. And he was always trying to search throughout his life where I can get that kind of path to change caste attitude through cultivating minds. So his core message was you have to change yourself as well as outside world as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
So obviously, after many, many years of study, research, he studied every religion he could, and he thought Buddhism is the best religion for him and his society, for personal change, personal growth, but also he saw that Buddhism doesn't believe in discrimination. Buddhism doesn't believe in caste. Buddhism believes in equality and dignity and self-respect and so on. Buddhism doesn't believe somebody will come and save you. You know, Buddha is more emphasized on changing yourself and changing society, individuals. So Dr. Ambedkar really respond to the vision of Buddha, and that's why he converted to Buddhism.
So both individual and social change.
Yes, definitely.
So Sadaraja mentioned that you came across Buddhism at an early age. So had your family already converted to Buddhism? Were they already involved? You said the Dr. Ambedkar community, so that's presumably people who've converted to Buddhism inspired by Ambedkar, following Ambedkar's example. So is your mother a Buddhist? Did she convert to Buddhism?
I mean, people from my community, because they associate with Dr. Ambedkar, and Dr. Ambedkar was born in my community, for example. I belongs to his community. So everyone from his community, they consider themselves Buddhist. But they didn't have any idea about Buddhism.
Okay.
So even my mother will say she's Buddhist that time. She didn't have any idea about Buddhism. So she was still following the Hindu gods and worships and so on. She had still images of God, the Hindu gods in her house. She was worshipping. But obviously, because of Dr. Ambedkar's vision and presence very strong in my community, I was lucky enough to really understand what Dr. Ambedkar is talking about, changing, converting to Buddhism. And I was lucky enough that in my village, there was a Three Ratna project came to my village, actually through Karuna Trust. If you know Karuna Trust, which I charity actually work for. So there one of project reached my village, and they used to run some activities for kids, teaching kids singing, drama, and talking about Dr. Ambedkar and Buddha. So when I was a young kid, probably 6-7 years old, I used to go to these activities, and I just loved it. Really loved it, the singing and songs and the whole emphasis on imagination and cultivation of your mind. And because we don't really often at home, you don't get these opportunities, but these classes really provided me to just thrive in my imagination and playfulness as well. But more importantly, I think I come across Buddha's teaching early on. I learned Buddha's teaching through acting some drama plays, if you like. For example, play of Kisa Gautami or Angulimala. We as a kid we used to play this. As a.
So you acted it out.
That's right. So sometime I was Angulimala, or sometime I became a Buddha, or Kisa Gautami. I remember. So obviously these stories has impacted very strongly on me early age, and I responded to Buddhism early on.
Yeah, I mean, stories do have a very strong effect, particularly when you're a child.
Definitely.
So you're kind of growing up around Buddhism, around the stories of the Buddha, which probably quite different to a lot of people here at Sanghanath tonight. You probably came across Buddhism later in life.
That's right.
So obviously you were a child. So you grew up as a young man.
Yes.
As a Buddhist and learning about Buddhism.
Yeah.
And obviously at some point you left to come to the UK. So what age were you when you came to the UK?
Yeah, I came to UK when I was 23 years old. Before that, I just want to tell more about my village, actually. I mean, even Dr. Ambedkar is very strong. His presence is very strong in my community, but it's still unfortunate. I'm still very rarer that Buddhism or path of Buddhism is available for people. Not every village has that kind of opportunity.
Okay.
So in a way, my village was quite rarer in that sense. There was Three Ratna activities was going on, and somehow I responded to these activities. Because there are so many villages doesn't have any tradition going there and teaching Buddhism and so on, really. So it was quite rare, I think. But yeah, so early on, with this all childhood memories and getting involved with Buddhism, my life was still very difficult. I have seen so much violence around me. Even my personal life, actually, I could say a lot more about that. And there's one thing I really reflected on recently. Early age, I learned to do metta bhavana, and that was quite a revolution, to be honest, because I could not think, if I don't do metta bhavana, how could I have thought about people from different communities in India, for example, people from higher caste, for example. There's so violence, and there is a constant view about casteism is alive in India.
Yeah.
Obviously, my life, I was discriminated when I was a young child. When my mother used to work for this farm owner, he used to treat my mom, giving separate plate, and he couldn't touch my mom, and so on. So obviously, these experiences has an impact on myself.
Yes.
Thinking about this community, they are horrible people, or they shouldn't do this, and things like that.
Yes.
So obviously, there is kind of anger and frustration and hatred, actually, almost, growing in myself. And learning this metta bhavana early age, Buddha's asking, or, Bhante taught this metta bhavana. In fourth stage, you have to cultivate metta for these people as well.
Yeah.
That was good revolution, actually. And I could not imagine, if I don't learn metta bhavana, how could I have actually brought that kind of vision in myself,
Yes.
Just not thinking about others or cultivating metta for even enemies, for example.
Yes.
And cultivating metta for myself as well. So I remember that has a very strong impact on me, actually, when I was a child, learning that metta bhavana. Coming back to your question.
Well, I know it's good that you said all that. I was just thinking that when you were talking about casteism, in a way, ending caste is for everybody. It's for high and low. So good thing about metta bhavana is it's just a universal kindness. That's great that you learned that at such a young age.
Yes. Such a young age, and I think because of this Ashru Ghosh project, the cultural actors case, we constantly actually acted Buddha's story of kindness and how Buddha responded to this injustice and discrimination, and his message for love and metta and maitri. I think that has impacted very strongly.
Yeah. So I suppose I'm thinking that you've had such a different beginning to your Dharma life, your Buddhist life, than most of us, and you've come to the UK where circumstances are obviously very different. So you say you came here 23 years old, so still a young man coming to the UK. I think you've never been outside of India before, so you came to live here. So I imagine that was quite a different experience to living in your village in India.
Yeah, it was very, very different experience. I never imagined I will be traveling outside India in my life. Before I come to UK, I was living in a big city called Pune. So that was one of my turning point, village life. Until age of 17, I lived in village. And then when I was 18, I moved moved to a big city called Pune.
It's a big city.
Yeah, so where actually also another turning point for my life, because I used to live in Buddhist community. The Buddhist centers are very active there. Then I went to university and so on. And then I had the opportunity to come to UK in 2005 when I was very young as well. Yeah, obviously I never imagined really I will be traveling outside India, and opportunity to come to me really through, I mean, Windows evolution. You know, if Windows evolution wouldn't be there, I probably wouldn't be coming to here. And I was, I mean, until I get this visa to come to UK, I couldn't believe I would be going to UK. Yeah. And it was a big move, actually. It's a big move for me and for my family and for my village even, actually. It was a big occasion when they heard I'm going to UK. They were celebrated hugely, actually, giving garlands and speeches and things like that. I remember that one. It was a big thing for them to kind of knowing that someone from our village, little boy, now he's going to UK. Yeah. That's big. So obviously it's a different world. And when I came here, I was arrived in January. It was snowing, so it was very, very cold. And I was so emotional, really, living in India. I was crying all the time, and even I didn't know really how to sit in plane and things like so. My journey started from really nothing from coming to UK. And when I came to UK, obviously had a strong impact on my life because it's completely different planet. Coming from India, I remember the quietness of England.
Okay.
It just felt like I was arrived in like a discrimination ground or something like that.
It is.
Because India is so noisy and but coming here it just feels like so quiet and very, very peaceful as well. What else I can say about this really? You asked me the question.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that strikes me is that when you talk about coming across Buddhism in India, you use words like revolution.
Yes.
And there's a lot about social change. Obviously, there's the change in the individual and the social change. Just to explain to people that Windows Evolution was a business, a Buddhist-run business, which was very successful.
Yeah.
And I think in 2014 closed, but was a giftware, wholesale giftware business run by Buddhists and almost entirely staffed by Buddhists. So that was the project you came over to be part of.
Yeah.
But yeah, just this contrast between your early life where through Dr. Ambedkar, you could see there was this vision at the end of caste, there was this relationship between the transformation of the individual and transformation of society. I'm curious about when you came to the UK, whether your practice changed or whether you noticed Buddhism was practiced differently here. I'm curious about that. That as a transition. I mean, obviously there was all the cultural things about getting used to the quiet and the English and everything else. But but maybe just if you could say a bit about how Dharma practice is different here, or your Dharma practice is different.
I mean, it was different, definitely. An obvious observation was really in the West, more emphasis on even like personal development, personal growth. And in India is a bit different. I think people more emphasize on social change. So even, for example, if I was in India, I was Mitra. I wasn't Mitra actually. I was still involved, maybe leading classes or going out and doing protest even. I'm just really fired up with this Buddhism, in India, and there is so much kind of really will or kind of vision. This Buddhism is not for yourself. It's just not for yourself. That's the idea of Buddhism is not for yourself, it's for everyone. That was a very, very strong message actually through Dr. Ambedkar. and then through his followers. That's why I was really inspired by in India, and I think still people are inspired by that vision. So when I came here, obviously that vision is not very alive in a sense. You can't really. There's not really. You can't really go out or do something. In society. So I think that was a big shift actually for me. I remember myself. I remember myself actually struggling with that actually, not having that kind of aspect of my life in UK. But on the other hand, really, I was so lucky because I came to work with Windows, and Windows was so alive. There was a community, there were so many people from different countries living together, practicing together. Then there's a Buddhist center. So in a way, I could express that kind of vision through working for Windows and coming to Buddhist center and so on. But also, I think the other hand, it was a good opportunity for me to just come back to myself in UK because I felt there is a more time for myself. Where in India, I think there is not much time for yourself. You will be surrounded by people all the time. Even if you're meditating, you will be meditating with other people, or you're just hearing all the time noises, or there is the sense of you're just practicing with people in India, and but within that condition, you can still know yourself anyway. But I think in England, when I came to England, I think that was I felt that kind of the opportunity for me to just really come back to myself, know better myself.
So the kind of inner aspects, if you like, the working more personally, was a bit more of a balance. The fact that was more emphasised here in the UK.
That's right. And in a sense, really coming to UK also, it little bit like a positive way forces me to take initiative, to make friendship, to understand new culture, to understand the way Buddhism practice in West, understand really just like whole kind of UK as a whole, as a different country as well, understand it better. So I felt very really shocked coming to UK, different culture, and food is different, everything is different. And really practice became, has to change my practice coming to UK. And I think it was, for a long time, practice was just really kind of building this sense of my new Sanghanath in different countries. But one thing I will say, really, it was very interesting coming to UK was where I was in India, I always identify with particular caste or community, and that was a big part of myself in India. But where coming to UK, that caste does not exist. And in a way, gaining this kind of glimpses of no caste is important. It's important to kind of know that there is no caste exist in UK. There's no such a thing exists. But there is a discrimination, and there is a racial discrimination exist anyway. But such caste does not exist. It's very important to kind of notice or acknowledge that it's possible.
So you see a culture outside of caste that's not
That's right.
filled with caste. And at the same time, did you feel that you experienced discrimination? Did you have a sense that you're being treated differently on the basis of, obviously people don't know your caste, but they can tell you're from India or you're from another country, another culture. Did you feel you experienced anything?
It's a really good question, to be honest. And since this Black Lives Matter is happening all over the world, I've been also reflecting on my experience living in UK, and is there anything I have experienced, around these issues? And I would say yes, in some ways. And I think when I'm working for Karuna Trust, when I fundraise, door-to-door fundraising, I have come across some attitude of racial discrimination, to be honest. Like people are, as soon as people see different skin or different accent, people will behave it differently, or people more skeptical even, really.
Yeah. Okay.
And also, I have also come across some Indian people on the doors as well, people from India living in UK. And there's a couple of times actually people asking my surname. There was one Indian woman I remember, she was kept asking my surname, and I couldn't, I just didn't like that.
And this was because of caste? Or?
Yeah, I think this is a classic example in India. We try to find which caste you come from by asking their surname. And I was kept asking, I'm not belonging to any caste. And I see myself as just human being. I'm a Buddhist, Buddha's message is just you are a human being. And she found it quite surprising that reply.
Wow, takes some confidence.
That's good. Definitely. But what I would say, not like racial discrimination as such, but I think there is a little bit like how do I put really this one? It feels like sometimes I found it very difficult to express my needs to white people, for example. Even in Sangha actually. And I don't want to generalize this one because I also know it's both ways. It's also my conditioning, my views also about people. I can't express my feelings with white people, for example. In even Sangha actually, it's a funny thing because I got such a very good friends as well. Really, some really friends like you. I can really talk, and express myself as well. But there is something I always feel like I'm hesitating to express my certain needs with white people actually. And when I noticed that one, actually I felt quite surprised around that one. And I think it's to do with myself, and also I think it's to do with the white people as well. I think maybe there is something to need to really look at, I think, for myself, and maybe within the Three Ratna, I think, maybe just give a little more opportunity for people to really explore this, cultural differences. Can they really express their needs in front of each other? And I have full confidence we can do that actually, because we got really great base of Buddhism and Dharma perspective.
So the key thing is about an understanding. Somehow, and I mean, I guess in a way you've got this perspective where you've come from a different culture. So in a way you've already had your cultural conditioning challenged. And yet you come into a culture where a lot of people. Me, I'm from Suffolk, so this is what I'm used to, and well, I guess conditioning is one of the things that we really need to break down, and one of those key things is the cultural conditioning. So it's fascinating actually to hear that it's a kind of perceptible thing for you, that there's a kind of a barrier or a limitation with that.
There's a little bit kind of hesitation to do that really, and I think it's because of also there is what represent in our, well, as white privilege or something like that. So definitely there is something, I think it's not, I wouldn't say this is a racial discrimination, but there's something I need to look at, I think, myself and maybe within our Sangha, because I was talking with few people from people of color, and I think people do feel in some way.
Yes, something good for us all to be more conscious of.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Karuna Trust. I suppose it's good just to explain a bit about Karuna Trust. So you work for Karuna, and you mentioned Karuna earlier on, but actually you benefited from a Karuna initiative. So Karuna is compassion, means compassion, and you raise funds here for projects in India. So you're talking about door knocking and raising funds. So it kind of strikes me that your original contact with Buddhism was the Dharma revolution. And now working for Karuna, now raising money for projects in India, I guess you're involved more with that Dharma revolution, it seems. So is there a sense that you've come a bit full circle now? Does it feel more like you're practicing when you're in India?
I mean, definitely. I feel so fortunate, actually. I am working for Karuna last 10 years. You know, as you said, I was benefited from Karuna's projects when I was in India. And when I came to UK, then I started to work for Windows Evolution. And when I was working for Windows Evolution, I always have a curiosity about Karuna, how they raise money in UK. And then I took time off from Windows and I did some Karuna appeals. So I wanted to just see this full circle, you know, how they raise money and how they, you know, money goes to India and how people's life change in India, which I know. So working for Karuna, definitely always felt connected. The one thing I always missed in UK was really India, for example. I think I'm still very, very strong Indian. I think I'm very Indian. My heart is, in India. And, you know, I miss people and I always wanted to go back to India, work in India. Or some or other ways, I wanted to find that connection. I'm still connected with India. And, you know, and I think Karuna Trust really gives me that opportunity. Not just for myself connecting with that, but sense of meaningful, really. I mean, I always inspired by this vision of helping others, you know, because my life was benefited by so many people's kindness and help. And I would never ever actually forgot that kind of vision. And even if I wouldn't work for Karuna, I would find some ways to connect with that vision. But Karuna is perfect for me, actually, last 10 years, because Karuna is connected with India. I know what they do in India. So I felt like my practice or vision for working for others is really more alive, I think, working with Karuna.
It's more direct.
Definitely. I mean, it's not easy, you know, it's not easy to fundraise, especially door knocking and so on. And you know, at times it's very challenging working as an appeal leader, for example, you know, leading appeals and going away from Cambridge and so on.
Yes, a very spiritually challenging environment. So now when you do go back to India, does it feel any different now that you've been so long in the UK? Is there, do you feel that contrast having, so you mentioned that when you came to the UK, your practice, it became more focused on yourself, which was positive. Then you went back into Karuna, which was more explicitly about giving back. So now when you return to India on your trips to India, obviously where your heart is in India, how do you experience that? Does it feel different now that you've been away so long? Or does the Dharma feel different?
It does, actually. It does feel different. I mean, more I just started to get this feeling of I'm not belongs to now from India and from UK as well. I started to feel I'm in kind of Bardo state, actually. Which is sometimes very painful as well. Not able to now connect with feel not belongs to these two places. I mean, I still feel very strongly belongs to India. You know, and I think when I'm in India, I am really like, you know, even more Indian, if you like. You know? But really, my Dhamma, if you like, he's really just now seeing I'm a global citizen, you know.
Sure.
And you know, that's like one to emphasize on becoming citizen of the world and not belongs to any country. But there's a still part of me, you know, emotionally connected with India.
Yes.
Strongly.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And there's an ongoing struggle for me, India, UK, going back to India. So this ongoing struggle. And yeah, well, since I can tell you more later on, but you know, now I feel a bit more in UK, really. More connected to UK because of Akash. And,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to mention Akash. So we all see Akash quite regularly here. We love him.
Yeah.
So Akash is Sanghanath's 2-year-old son.
Yeah.
And so that's another obviously very important part of your life, and obviously a very important part of your Dharma life. So Akash was born here. And can you say something about what it's like? I mean, obviously a lot of people here at Sanghanath will have children, family situations. Obviously you live here in community, which maybe that's worth mentioning, that we don't need to practice the social distancing because Sanghanath's just down the hallway. We live in community, but Akash is quite often here.
Yes.
So yeah, could you say a little bit about maybe the benefits or the challenges of practice with your son in that context?
Well, Akash is such a joy, really joy.
He is.
And I feel so fortunate, really, actually, because Akash is, you know, he's mixed race child now as well.
Sure.
He's a child of myself and Deborah, and that's another big part of my life. Deborah and Akash, and I could say a lot about this thing as well. But I just want to say, really, they're a really big part of my life. In a sense, I have so much kind of gratitude and for Deborah and Akash actually. And since Akash was born, I mean, we're so delighted, really. Myself, Deborah, her family, and my family, just really delighted, really, to have a son like Akash. I mean, one thing really, I mean, I didn't have a father in my life. When I was very young, he died. So it was a big part of my practice or life, just become father, really.
Yes.
Because I think I could not experience the fatherhood feeling in another way, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I had all sorts of father figures, but nothing quite same.
Yes.
So in a way, I am really experiencing this very strongly with Akash. I am his father. So obviously, if you like, he is my now heart. He's my heart. And obviously, this is a new life, new challenge. You have to just adapt way of practicing Dhamma, really.
Yes.
So for example, sometimes it's very difficult to meditate on the cushion, and I have to just really cultivate new practices when I'm with Akash. And there are sometimes I just really try to enjoy spending time with him. Try to be fully with him, if you like. And even try to get more curious about his life.
Yes.
I really enjoying actually this practice of there are things that he can notice I never notice. If you go for a walk, you could notice even the smallest ladybird, for example.
He does do that, yeah.
And he will just go, "Daddy, there's a ladybird," and I would never notice that, and I will go with him and just get interested in ladybirds. So really, my practice, if you like, really changed, and I could say a lot about really how that changed, becoming father and family life. Yeah.
And at the same time, I can see we're getting a wave, so we're probably going to need to. Yeah, Sadaraj is giving us the wave. Thank you very much for that. It was Really, really interesting to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanghanath, for that, and Abhayamati for bringing all that out. We've got a little space now where people can ask Sanghanath questions. So if you'd like to do that, please pop your little question down in the chat box and we'll take it from there. So we've already got one question here from Kula Priya. And he's saying, thank you very much, both of you, very inspiring, Sanghanath. Being so knowledgeable about Indian and UK culture, what do you think would be the best lesson we could learn from India?
Best lesson from India: don't believe in caste. Honestly, I mean, we could learn a lot from India, and India could learn a lot from UK as well. But I think I would say, I think this vision of Dr. Ambedkar really says it's more alive. Dharma is not just for yourself. Dharma is for society, and that vision is so alive in India, I think, especially through Dr. Ambedkar's mass conversion and revolution. In a way, I don't need to say more than that, really. I think Indian Sangha Indian Sangha do that really well in India. And I think we could really learn that for ourselves, for Sangha. Yeah.
Thank you. We've got another question from Virya Jyoti. She also says, thank you very much, Sanghanath and Abhayamati, moving and inspiring. She asks, what was it like when you had that experience of coming back to yourself, knowing yourself better? What was that like?
Well, definitely very fruitful, really. I mean, by nature, I'm not very good at actually knowing myself, I really struggled to get to know myself. And I think there was a period of my life, actually, last few years, I wasn't really kind of happy and, more even not ethical sometimes. And I really felt lost myself, and some reason I needed to come back to myself, and as soon as I know myself, coming back to myself, if you like, it's so painful to actually even understand my mind as well, and also relief as well, kind of tremendous relief. Actually, this is I want to do, this I want to do, come back to myself more, know myself better. So in a way, I think it's a mixture of feeling really kind of tremendous relief and challenge, and sometimes really like sadness as well. Yeah. Is that answer your question?
It did. Thank you, Sanghanath.
So there's a question from me, actually, Sanghanath. There's a question. I thought I'd use my position here, kind of as the kind of host here, to give you a question myself. Do you think there is much, so now that you're a citizen of the world, as it were, you're very much embedded in the British Sangha, as it were, and the Indian Sangha, you've obviously got friends from all over the place in lots of different ways. Do you experience a difference in spiritual friendship in the UK to what it is in India, or is it just the same?
Question. Really good question, yeah, Raja. And I think really friendship is very big part of my spiritual life, actually. I got so many friends in India and so many friends here as well. In a way, on the level of, on the one level, they're all same, really. For me, they really point towards to deepening and transparency, openness, and spiritual friendship, on the level of really same. And I think I'm fortunate actually. I have a really good friendships here as well in UK and also in India. Yeah, I think that's a really good question, to be honest, how to describe really. I just feel like there's not much difference, to be honest. Both are just really enjoyable, and you know, the spiritual friendship is something I really always inspire to, really, and you can practice everywhere, I think. Yeah. Obviously, there's a obvious differences like a culture difference or, you know, things like that. But in some ways, they don't really matter very much to me. I think what matters is really like this deepened friendship and spiritual friendship. Yeah.
Well, we've got a comment here from Gina, who obviously knows you very well. She says, you are a very good friend, Sanghanath. Thank you for the inspiring interview. And so she obviously knows you very well. We've got another question here from David Baird, who says, thank you very much for the talks and insights. What is your favorite saying from the Buddha and why?
Oh, that's a good question, really. I mean, really, one of the, it's not kind of saying really, but Buddha's insight into, one of the first insight Buddha had is, you're not made by God, you know. He realized that really you are your own guru in a sense, because growing up in India, there's so much part of Hinduism, you know, even Christianity, and the God is very alive. And one of the things Dr. Ambedkar didn't want to go that route. He really wanted to see the people can really understand themselves and kind of enlighten themselves. And that's one of the Buddha's teaching, core teaching, I think, as well. He really shows that, you know, he really taught that very strongly. So I would say actually that's my favorite favorite saying or insight or teaching of Buddha. Yeah.
Good. And we've got another question. Thank you for that. We've got another question here from Michael Davidson. It says, really interesting to hear your thoughts about Black Lives Matter. How do you think Triratna could take this forward?
Yeah. I mean, that's really good question, because, you know, there is so much going on with Black Lives Matter already. And with my limited knowledge, I can say a little bit, but I think there's so many people in Triratna actually feeling inspired by this as well at the moment. In a way, I mean, you know, if you probably are following this courageous conversation, you know, they've been really good. And there is a general will now in Triratna, I think, through order and through whole Sangha, actually. People are taking really initiative to do that. In a way, we have to just cherish this, you know, initiatives and support whatever is going on in Triratna. And also just be open now, you know, just open in some way or other is exist in our Triratna, you know, kind of racial discrimination, you know, not in extreme forms, but maybe I think there's a little bit more work needed to live, more openness around these issues, more talking around these issues. Even maybe not exist, but maybe we got to just get people talking. As I mentioned, you know, sometimes I feel very hesitant to express my, you know, feeling, you know, our needs sometimes. So what is it? Why I feel like that? You know, it's only because I'm sure it's me, but also, you know, people there. So I think maybe we need to go a little bit, kind of that level of communications. I think happen more and more in our Triratna. Yeah.
Well, on that inspiring note, Sanghanath and Abhayamati, I'd like to draw the interview to a close. And thank you so much for talking so interestingly and openly. And well, it's been a really great thing to hear and to see. So thank you once again for another really great experience of Upfront and Personal. Next week, we've got our final session of Upfront